Hello, everyone. Over the next few weeks, the next 2 weeks to be precise, we are finally going to begin talking about gender in a more direct and concerted way than we have before. I've broken the gender section into 2 weeks, and I've done this for a couple reasons. For starters, like many topics in sociology, gender is often misunderstood in public discussions, and we will be challenging some of the accepted notions that link gender concretely to sex categorization. For another reason, I have set up a required group discussion activity that will happen over 2 weeks and will be followed by an individual write-up. I'll return to this later. Lastly, again, like some other sociological concepts like race or class, there are two main components of studying gender: the cultural side, which includes understanding the social construction of gender, and the cultural cues we use to express and interpret it, and the structural side, which includes a variety of measures of inequality between men and women, including in education, the labor market, in politics, and in the general degree of status, prestige, and respect that we accord men and women. These two realms are related: the social construction of gender, which includes our social ideas about what men and women are and should be like. For example, some of the authors from The Hearts of Boys noted that although boys may cry and desire intimate friendships, many still hold the idea that these things are not quite appropriate for boys. And the structural inequalities of gender. For example, the very small proportion of women who hold national public office, or the wage gap between men and women, a wage gap which varies, by the way, according to the race of the men and women. One of the things I would like you to think about over these next few weeks as you write your discussion posts, and consider the vignettes upon which your smaller group discussions will be based, is the relationship between the cultural side of gender, our expectations of men and women and what is appropriate for and from them, and the gender inequalities that are discussed in your text. What is the relationship between these? This question is very similar to one I've posed before, the question I posed to you about Julie Betty's work, Women Without Class, when I asked you to consider how the class performances the girls gave via cultural symbols like makeup, clothing, and certain kinds of behavior or comportment were related to the inequalities they experienced both inside and outside of school. This relationship is not simple, and it is not simply causal. That is, the clothing Las Chicas wore did not cause them to do poorly in school or to not take college prep classes. However, when we take a wider view of the behaviors and understandings of others, especially those in positions of power to help or hinder the girls' progress, we may see some important relationships. In the case of Betty, the way teachers and administrators perceived the girls led them to treat them differently, leading to different outcomes. Not unlike the experience of Ronnie in his job interview, as described by Victor Rios. You will start this week by reading some basic concepts and feminist theories regarding the sociological study of gender, and pairing it with a classic essay on gender that begins with a symbolic interactionist understanding of gender, a la our friend Irving Goffman, and consider some of the benefits and drawbacks of looking at gender through that lens. You will also be assigned a small discussion group and part 1 of the vignette you will be analyzing. Next week, our reading will move us to more of a focus on gender inequalities, and you will be assigned part 2 of the vignette to be discussed in the same group. Now, I just want to make a couple comments about your assignment for the next 2 weeks that consists of 3 components and is titled Drinks and Dinner. For this assignment, you have been automatically assigned to small groups of approximately 4 students. This discussion group should be visible to you when you click on the assignment. When you enter the assignment, you should find a PDF entitled Case Study, Drinks and Dinner Part 1. Please begin by reading this. It is about 1 or 2 pages. The vignette describes a workplace situation involving the visit of a senior manager to a regional branch of the company and the social dynamics that ensue. After reading the vignette, you should begin posting on your group discussion board, your small group discussion board, not the main discussion board for this week. You have 1 week to discuss with the other classmates in your small group, after which the board will close and you will be able to access part 2. At that point, please read part 2, which introduces new ideas pertaining to the situation described and asks you to think further about the scenario. You must discuss this in your small groups also. There's a separate discussion board for part 2 for each small group. At the end of the second week, when the discussion board closes, each student must write an individual response to the activity, vignettes, and discussion, reflecting on what we can learn or conclude about gender and gender inequality from it. This reflection will be turned in by October 25th in the same manner as previous assignments. Each section of this assignment, the 2 discussions, and the paper will be graded. They are worth 5 points each. The entire assignment is worth 15 points altogether. Students must contribute a minimum of 2 posts to their group discussion to get full credit for that discussion. Please note that these small group discussions count as a separate assignment and are in addition to the usual discussion posts for the week. This means a bit more work for the next 2 weeks, after which you'll have a few more weeks before the next assignment is due. So I hope you guys enjoy it. The vignette should be very interesting, and there's a lot of interesting discussions that can be had, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.